Bozard Ford studio for the St. Johns County show that's on in the morning. We have former Florida Speaker of the House and Republican gubernatorial candidate Paul Renner in the studio this morning, and we will get to our illustrious guest soon. But first, we want to thank Bozard Ford. Since 1949, Bozard Ford Lincoln has been more than just a dealership. It's a local legacy built on trust, family values, and a commitment to doing things the right way. Proudly serving St. Augustine and beyond for over 75 years, Bozard offers award-winning service, unbeatable selection, and a state-of-the-art facility with 91 climate-controlled service bays, a quick lane for no appointment-needed maintenance, and even Ford's Garage restaurant right there on site. Recognized with the Triple Crown Award and President's Awards, Bozard Ford Lincoln is where hometown service meets national excellence. Great pricing, friendly faces, and a better buying experience are just off I-95 and State Road 16. Bozard Ford Lincoln, they are driven to inspire. Also, a big shout out to all of our amazing sponsors. We have Fidus Roofing, Old Town Trolley, Bin 39 Wine Bar, B&S Signs, Chiba Hut Toasted Subs, St. Augie's Pizza, Chris Lucero Bail Bonds, and St. Augustine Handy Houses. And we have a brand new 904 Now partner. It's the Facial Rejuvenation Clinic. We want to welcome you. Thank you so much for your support. You can support all of our wonderful sponsors and support us with your likes, comments, and shares. Follow us on Instagram, subscribe on YouTube and Rumble, and download our app from the Apple App Store. All right. Good morning, everybody.
Hey, happy Wednesday.
It's
hump day.
Wednesday.
It's October.
It is.
How'd it get to be October?
I have no idea. September evaporated away.
Oh, goodness
Wild.
gracious.
Ooh, Stetson. We're fancy today, guys.
Yeah, no, we got a special guest.
We do have a
And
special
I didn't realize that I'm wearing the outfit I have in the lobby.
You are.
Until Paul walked by
Sure.
and he pointed to it, and I was like, I'm wearing that outfit.
That way the guest can recognize,
Yeah.
it.
Thought maybe you just framed it.
Yeah, we did
Just
it
did
just
that.
this
Just did
morning.
the shoot this morning.
Yeah, and I was
Right.
doing that bottle of champagne I was holding in my hand there too. So, but it's Wednesday. It's October already.
I
It's
know.
amazing. So, and
Wild.
the storm missed us.
It did. We
So
love that.
That's a beautiful thing.
All of the storms have missed us so far.
Yeah, we didn't get a chance to breathe. Yeah.
So far? I said so far.
Quiet.
I just
Quiet.
completely
Yeah,
cursed
you're a
it.
Floridian
I
too.
know.
You know better.
I waited till October to say it.
That's right.
You know better.
This is October.
It's still October.
But yeah, so that was very fortunate.
Mhm.
Got a couple more weeks to kind of
Yeah.
get to a healthy spot. And I believe in 2 weeks we have Mike Burrish coming in
We do.
at the very end of hurricane season.
Very, very.
So hopefully
Yeah.
he can tell us we're all safe at that
He
point.
can either praise me for my forethought
Oh.
or admonish me for cursing the state.
If something happens, we're blaming you.
100%.
Just so you know. Just so you know.
Yeah.
Blake, you alive back there?
Yes, I'm trying my best.
All right. No jet lag today?
It's a little bit in the morning, but nothing too bad.
Okay.
It's a good thing we're not in
It's
the
easier
morning.
coming back this way. Blake just got back from Ireland.
Oh, wow.
So he went to the Steelers game
Oh, yeah.
over there in Ireland. So he's
Yeah.
a big Steeler fan. And
Excellent. Excellent.
they were able to pull it off.
They won.
Good
I don't know why I
It's,
can't see comments. Oh, they appeared as soon as I was
You needed to manifest.
playing with them. I needed to manifest them. So
100%.
but we have a guest, Paul Renner.
Mhm.
Been friends for a long time. You're a representative, and you helped us so much on Veterans Village. But we're going to get to you in just a little bit because we have to do some important stuff, like what's the question of the day?
Yes.
All right.
What is the
What-
question of the day?
Question of the day today is International Music Day.
Okay.
So the question of the day is, what is your favorite non-American artist?
Okay.
Musical artist. All right. Favorite non-American musical artist. So
All
do
right.
you have one?
I do.
Okay.
I have two. I didn't know.
Right.
Can we do bands? I've got a band.
Yeah,
and I've
band.
got
You
an
can do
artist.
bands. Definitely
Okay.
do bands.
So Fleetwood Mac started in England
Okay.
with English people, so I'm calling that international, even
Okay.
though they had some switch ups and some Americans joined the band,
Mhm.
and it's known as a mainstay in American pop culture. I'm going Fleetwood Mac for band, and I'm gonna go Alanis Morissette for artist because I am a girl of the 2000s, the 90s. It's fitting.
So
She's Canadian,
Canadian A.
yes,
A.
famously Canadian.
Does she say A after every?
I haven't heard that in interviews. And she does say hey a lot in her songs, to be fair.
really does.
She
She
really
really
does.
So
But Dave Coulier's ex-girlfriend. Interesting.
Blake, what you got, man?
I'm gonna say ABBA.
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 That's a good
Ah.
one. That's a good one.
Mamma Mia, a popular movie for you?
A little bit.
Yeah.
No.
Dancing Queen.
You don't turn the camera on to admit that you're a Mamma Mia fan?
No,
I play a lot. I play a lot of ABBA at trivia.
Okay.
So,
And we now know it's because Blake loves it.
Blake, well, Blake might love it because I played it for so long. It's just in his head.
Yeah.
Chicken or the egg.
So, Paul, what is your favorite international music artist? And it can be band or artist.
Well, I'm a big country music fan, but I'll try to sound sophisticated and go Andrea Bocelli.
Oh,
Wow, that is very sophisticated. That's why you wore a tie.
Oh.
What did I just knock over?
I don't know. We'll find it later.
Okay, I just knocked something in the pit of despair.
Yeah, you did.
All right, and I'm going back and forth here with this one because I do like the Stones. I like AC/DC.
Yeah.
And I think I'm gonna land on U2.
All right.
So I think that's where I'm.
It's a good one.
Just from my 80s, in the I got to see Joshua Tree and Rattle and Hum and all of them, and those were like my real first love for concerts was with U2.
Yeah.
So I think I got to stick with those guys.
Did you ever get a chance to meet you two?
No, I
Bono or
didn't. No, I didn't.
Okay.
I never did. So I was more of an Edge guy, with the hats
Well,
and
of course.
stuff. Yeah. So, so that was so I got to go with U2.
Yeah.
So
I was definitely a U2 fan until they gave their album to everyone who had an iPhone, and now I can't get rid of it. I've gone through multiple iPhones since they did that promotion with Apple Music, and I have to delete it on every new device. I don't want the album. I'm sorry.
You don't want the album?
I don't want the album. It's a very creepy cover picture. I don't want the album.
Well, if you go back in their time,
They have
that wasn't even one of their creepier ones.
No, I know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there was some creepy album covers
For sure.
in those days. So.
For sure. I agree.
All right, we'll see what everyone else says out there.
All right. Now it's time for a quick check of the weather.
Better than yesterday.
That quick check of the weather brought to you by Bin 39. Discover one of St. Augustine's best kept secrets. Bin 39, tucked inside St. George Inn at the north end of St. George Street. With over 95 boutique wines, 50 of them rated 90 points or higher by Robert Parker, it's a perfect spot for a romantic date night or relaxing after-work unwind. Sit by the glass or the bottle in a serene courtyard setting and enjoy live music Thursday through Sunday, open daily 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Just stop by and say, I'll have what Irving's having. Bin 39, your taste to discover.
People love when I tell them exactly when it's going to rain. It's not going to rain until like 11:39. The rain's coming in late.
39 p.m. Okay.
PM.
I just want to clarify because last time.
I had two different shots. I left it pretty much open.
Okay. So
it's
11:39.
going to rain late tonight.
Okay.
What just as you're falling
Mark it.
asleep, it's going to be good rain.
Okay.
When the good rain comes in.
It's hard for us to take pictures of it not raining at that time when we're all asleep.
Yeah.
So good hedge to your bet.
It's usually when the dogs want to go out.
Right on. All right. Now it's time for the Hit the Blakes traffic report.
Traffic's looking fine out there. A little bit damp on the roads today.
Moist.
I was
It's
trying.
moving.
Yep.
I like that. Right on. That Hit the Blakes traffic report brought to you by Old Town Trolley. Climb aboard Old Town Trolley and experience over 500 years of history in the heart of St. Augustine. This fully narrated 90-minute tour features 22 convenient stops and covers more than 100 points of interest, including iconic landmarks like the Castillo de San Marcos, the Fountain of Youth, and Flagler's Historic Hotel. With open-air views and all-day hop-on, hop-off access, it's the most fun and flexible way to explore the nation's oldest city. Your ticket also includes free admission to the St. Augustine History Museum, and local St. Johns County residents ride free with a full fare guest through the Hometown Pass program. Sign up today at hometownpass.com. Old Town Trolley, the best way to see St. Augustine one stop at a time. All right. We paid the bills for the first half of the show.
We have paid the bills, and thank you so much for coming in, Representative. I don't know what to call you now. You're
Paul's
former,
fine. Yeah.
former representative, but Paul, appreciate you coming in. Exciting news! You just announced a couple weeks ago you decided to run for governor, which is exciting. I've known you 10, 15 years now. When you first decided to start getting into politics, but I'd like everyone else to kind of know your journey of how you got there, because you're a lawyer, and you're a military guy. So talk to us about how you got into politics in the first place and why you decided that this is a good time for you to run for governor.
Sure. Well, I grew up here in Northeast Florida, Jacksonville, preacher's kid. My mom was a school teacher and joined the military right out of college. So I was in Operation Desert Storm at age 23 and over in mine-infested waters as an officer of the deck. And I also did some mine destruction operations through the EOD teams and got back off of active duty, went to law school and became a prosecutor down in South Florida, moved back to Jacksonville in 2005. And in 2014, to fast forward to your question, seat opened up, pick up the newspaper, and my representative had left to take a job at the Chamber of Commerce, and I had thought about doing something like that as a way of additional service. Having served in the military, having our country, and having served our state as a prosecutor, to serve in that capacity because it's important. So much of what the state does affects our daily lives, and so I ran and raised a bunch of money, knocked a bunch of doors, and lost by 2 votes. 2 votes.
That's the race I met you in.
Yeah, 1-2.
Running for that.
Yeah, and actually, it's kind of a small world story or neat story. I spoke to the gentleman just a couple of days ago. He's 88 years old, but James Russian, who as we're looking at the absentee ballots that had gotten thrown out, they throw them out for signature mismatch at that time with what's on the registration, and my team's going out and they see that this guy has a Renner yard sign in his yard, and they knock on his door and say, yeah, absolutely, I voted for Renner. There's no see the yard sign, and they would you come down to the supervisor of elections and identify your ballot? That's my ballot. And it set off a process. Ultimately, it led to a change in the law where now you can come back because this guy, and like many of us, had signed our name at 18 when we actually care what our signature looks like. Yeah. And then now, you're in your 70s or whatnot. This was 10 years ago. He was in 78. And his signature's changed, obviously. Yeah. And so they threw it out. And they'd already voted on it. And they refused. He did an affidavit and everything. They refused to, count his ballot. And he said, that's my ballot. I voted for Renner. That's my signature. And so now you can come back and cure your signature, redo your signature, and as long as that matches what was on your ballot, then they'll count the ballot. But so I had a chance to chat with him on the phone here recently,
and
and
Vicki just sent those out. We're going to have Vicki in supervisors of election here. She just sent out that document about updating your. I don't think I've ever done it before, like updating my signature since, like you said, since I was like 18 years old.
That's right.
And that's 40 years ago.
Well, as a female and the only one in the room, I did have to update my signature because I got married.
Right.
Yeah.
So if a woman changes her name when she gets married, she has to go and change it on everything, including voter registration. So I did have to do it when I got married. That was when I was 25. My signature has changed because, I was in the first couple of weeks of writing my brand new name. And so it does look a little different now. So I'll be fixing that.
Yeah, and I came up with my signature. I think I was in middle school because I was still going to be a professional baseball player. So I was practicing my autograph.
That's right.
So that's where my head was. So I nailed down my signature when I was like 14, and it really hadn't changed a whole lot.
Yeah.
But it's just but a lot of people don't realize my name is actually Samuel Troy Blevins. But I still, even though it's Samuel Troy Blevins on my voter card, I still sign it Troy Blevins. Yeah. Just in case someone tried to sneak in.
Right. There you go. Yeah. There you go. So anyway, you get knocked off a horse. What do? You brush yourself off and get back on, and a seat opened up and was asked to go consider running for it. And I did and won. And then to become speaker, you've got to earn the trust of your colleagues. And so it was successful in doing that. We had one of the most consequential 2 years, really, people say, in Florida history, certainly from a conservative Republican standpoint, but also just from everybody's standpoint. We got a lot of stuff done on infrastructure and the environment and helping our schools and so forth that everybody, is fully on board with and just had a great 2 years as speaker. And I'm an old dad, father of 2 young kids, 5 and 3. And I thought, what's the state going to look like, 4 to 8 years from now? And you see, just a change in leadership makes all the difference in the world. And so I talk about who do you trust? Who's got the deep leadership experience to take on the 3rd largest state in the country? You ought to run a lemonade stand or something before you do that job, and who's delivered results, positive results to take on tomorrow's challenges, because the guy that's fixed yesterday's challenges is better prepared to take on tomorrow's, and believe that on those three fronts, we've had a lifetime of positions of trust, leadership under pressure, delivering results, military, prosecutor, and in politics more recently, to do this job the right way and to be the best governor possible, and that'll be my goal.
All right, and you guys, we talked about the success of when you were a speaker, and I'm going to brag on you a little bit because in St. Johns County, you represent a portion of St. Johns County and Flagler County, the southern portion of St. Johns County. We never received as much help as we did in those 2 years where you were there. Veterans Village doesn't happen without you and Cindy and Travis and all you guys working together to make that happen. So thank you for everything you did for St. Johns County in this area. And I think you're going to get great support from this area because they know you and you've kind of always had our back. How do you extend that? There's 67 counties. How do you extend that throughout the entire state? And, being Speaker of the House obviously helps with that. But, there's some areas you got to go into where you're battling against people with a little bit more name recognition at some point. Donald, probably has a little bit more name recognition. So you're up against that. How do you get through that portion of it? I mean, doing shows like this hopefully help you in a lot of ways, but what's the strategy you're thinking that you can kind of get through and get that message through?
Yeah, no, it's absolutely that, Troy. And we, the first week we came in, September 3rd is when we filed to get in, and we did media all across the state. I speak a little bit of Spanish, did even a little bit of Spanish interviews in Miami-Dade. So we're out there talking radio, print, TV, the whole thing, to get the message out, talk through the issues, have a substantive conversation, which I think people want. I don't think running on bumper stickers is enough. And, in the social media world, you get a lot of that. You need to have a substantive conversation. I was having one before we got on about how do we, do property taxes in the right way to give people relief, which they need, but also protect law enforcement and make sure the cops come when we call 911. That's important too. We're right across the street from the sheriff's office. We want to protect those that wear the uniform and make sure they can protect us. And so all these things are, in many cases, sometimes there's a bumper sticker solution, but most often in politics and in good policy, it's not that easy. It's a lot more complicated. And I think if you look at the two years and all the 9 years that I was in the legislature, there's a history of working with people, making sure we hit the policy right. And that may mean I go in thinking one thing, but you listen to people and you hear from other people and you say, that's a really good point. We got to make this adjustment so that you deliver up good policy. And the great thing about having a legislature that meets every year is if you get it wrong a little bit, you come back and adjust it. And we've had to do that as well. I've now since forgotten your question, but I don't know if that answered it or not.
It was how to get that message out.
Yeah, to get the message out
throughout the entire state. Because like I said, your popularity here is going to be much better than it is in Tampa.
Sure.
And so that how do you make that where they know what we know? Because we voted for you four separate times. How do you get them to say they know what we know?
Well, we're going to be in all 67 counties. You spend time with people, you listen. Politicians like to talk, and I won't name names, but a captain on one of my ships that we called, he was on transmit only, we say, he didn't listen. He was only transmitted. And politicians are good at that. We give speeches, we talk, but listening. And so we're doing a lot of things to make sure we get out in the community and talk to real people, not just live in the bubble of politics or X or Facebook or whatever on social media, but we actually talk to real people. So I'm always asking people what their top issues are, what they worry about, what makes them happy about Florida, what do we need to preserve. And so I think the proposition for me as governor, if you like the Florida we have, I was a key part of helping to build that, along with the members you mentioned here from St. Johns County. But also we have challenges. There's no question about it. We have insurance challenges, property taxes, infrastructure with a growing state, making sure we keep our beaches and our parks and everything that we love about the outdoors, healthy, so we can catch fish and eat the fish we catch. These are important things, and they're not necessarily always sexy when it comes to, what people want to gravitate to in politics, but they're important, and you better have somebody who cares enough about them and what's going to happen 20, 30 years from now, not just in the term limited world we live in.
You mentioned property taxes, ad valorem taxes, and the governor's talking about eliminating a lot of those. It makes me a little nervous. As a business owner, I like it. It's one of those things. Okay, I like this, but it makes me nervous because the quality of life is so balanced. I'm concerned about how it affects, because that money's going to have to come from someplace else. So it's going to probably move towards sales tax or something like that to push up to make that balance. Where do you differ from the governor? Now, I know you and the governor work very closely together on a lot of things. Where do you differ from the governor of where he's at with property tax, and what's your mindset on that?
Well, I can't agree or differ because he doesn't have a plan yet. The legislature's, working on their own plan. I'm assuming they're talking to the governor's office, and they will at some point come out with a plan, and then I can comment on it. But I'll give you some principles that I think should guide us. Number one is property taxes in Florida have grown twice the rate of the nation. So 23% increase since 2019 across the country, 47.5% here in Florida. And in some of the major metro areas, it's higher than that. Some of the highest in the country. And that's because our property values have skyrocketed. Now, that's a good thing if you're a homeowner.
Values have went up. The ad valorem or the millage really hasn't jumped, skyrocketed, but the values have went up.
Yeah. And so if you're a first-time home buyer, young couple, and you're trying to buy your first home, that's a problem. And I talked to a young lady who said, look, we buying our first house, and everybody in the community's paying $3,000 or whatever a year. We're paying $9,000, and because of that reassessment that they get to do once the property turns over, and, we have Save Our Homes, which is 3% per year. But on the other side, people on fixed incomes, they've retired, they bought a house. It's not their fault it's gone. I mean, they're glad it's gone up, but this is their home. This is their forever home, right? Yeah. And they've lived there for 20 years. They're on a fixed income, and it goes up 3% every year. Well, that doesn't sound like a lot, but that's 30% in a decade. Yeah. And so has your Social Security gone up 30% in the decade? I bet it hasn't. And so I think those are two areas. And so my counsel to people is don't make the perfect the enemy of the good. Don't chase just a bumper sticker. Let's make sure we have to give some relief to people that are struggling. We have people that are going to lose their homes because of the high cost of insurance, the high cost of property taxes. We've done a lot on insurance, which we can talk about. We got more to do. But property taxes continue to go up year after year because of those values. And so we got to give some relief.
We need to pull your microphone closer to you according to the audio.
Oh, sorry about that. I'm turning towards Paul, and I'm usually pretty good about that. Sorry about that, guys.
Pulling a Lenny.
I pulled a Lenny. It's Lenny's fault. All right. So with property tax, but the other thing we have in Florida is we have a very aging population. Still, I mean, there is some younger people working in, but we're still one of the older states. And insurance is a major issue on business side and health insurance for the elderly. We talked about the elderly, and they have to choose sometimes to pay the mortgage or pay the insurance, and insurance goes away. Yeah. And a lot of different situations like that. How is insurance, to me as a business person, it's my number one hit on the property I own and the business I have. How are we going to get that under control? Because we're under constant threat of storms and other things, and these insurance companies.
Points at me.
these are way to go. These insurance companies, they have to stay in business too.
Yep.
So how do you make that balance happen? That to me sounds like juggling Jello.
Yeah, well, there's there's things that we can do, like a light switch, like tax relief. We cut taxes and everybody sees it right away. And then there's turning that Titanic, and that's insurance. So when I came in as speaker in 2022, we immediately went into a special session, and we did a lot of things people said could not be done because we took on a lot of the gamesmanship in litigation. And I'll give you an example here in a moment, because we're seeing double-digit increases in homeowners every year. every year. Auto, 1 year right before we did this, was 30% increase. And so people are really, at a breaking point on both homeowners and auto insurance. We'll get to health in a minute. And so we did that. We went after some of the garbage lawsuits, some of these assignments of benefits. And here's an example. So you come out of Publix, you walk to your car, there's a guy there with a clipboard standing by your car and say, hey, you got a crack in your windshield. You say, well, that's funny. I didn't have a crack in my windshield when I went into Publix.
Yeah.
But anyway, hey, if you'll sign over your policy to me, I'll get you a free windshield. We'll take care of all of it. And here's 2 Jaguar tickets, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so we had 80,000 of these lawsuits. So what would happen? It was all kind of a collusion plan. These guys would go, instead of the $500 your insurer will pay for the windshield, because that's what it cost, they're charging $700 or $800 or $900. And they say, well, we're not going to pay that. We'll pay you $500. If they get $501, they get all of their attorney's fees, so $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 in attorney's fees, and this was driving up the cost of everybody's insurance. There were 80,000 of these lawsuits before our reforms. This year they're down to 7,000, which are probably legitimate disputes with the insurance company, right?
Yeah.
And we want to protect. The bottom line is we focus on the consumers, not the insurers, not the lawyers, but the consumers. What's good for consumers? And so we put a lot of insurer accountability around homeowners. You got to process claims faster. If you engage in any kind of mischief or bad practices in terms of paying out claims, you can get hammered, as well as some limitations on what lawyers can get away with, because they were getting away with murder, and it was a lot of gamesmanship. So because of that, we've seen homeowners start to stabilize. It was up 1% overall, but people are seeing some decreases in homeowners. Not everybody, but if you're seeing an increase of any kind, you ought to shop it, because we have a lot of new insurers coming into the market. So it's got a lot more competitive. They're looking for your business. We've seen Citizens be cut more than half, which we all, backstop that. Citizens is that insurer of last resort.
Yeah,
and you don't want that to grow, because if there's a huge hurricane, we all get assessed on all of our policies. And then on auto, it's going down. Nothing's going down in the country, and certainly auto insurance is still going up 6+% in the country. It's going down 6 to 10% here in Florida. And I was with a big insurer that does a lot of policies, and they're coming in with another 10% decrease. So again, you when you look at your auto insurance bill, that should be actually going down pretty significantly and continuing to go down. And here's the good news. We're not done yet, because a lot of new cases were filed on the eve of the governor signing that on purpose, because they're under the old laws where they can get away with a lot more than they get away with now. And so once that egg goes through the snake, you're going to see a further decrease. So we're still a couple years away from seeing the full benefit of that bill. Now, we're not done yet. We need to do more. Home hardening is one thing we can do outside the litigation problem, which I think we've kind of started to fix, is home hardening programs like My Safe Florida Home, where the state comes in and says, look, we'll match you up to $10,000 to do new windows, roof tie downs in a home that doesn't already come with all that stuff. If it's a new home, you're going to have a lot of that. And between two homes, let's say they're built in the 70s or 80s before the Andrew Building Code, one's hardened and one's unhardened, you can see a difference between 60 and 70% in premium. That's huge. And so by participating in that, and we put, when I was speaker, we put hundreds of millions of dollars, and it's gone, right, in months. And so as governor, I want to make sure we expand that. And for people, again, that have been in a home a long time, it was built in the 60s, 70s, like the home most of us grew up in, you can harden that home and see a huge benefit, a huge decrease in your premiums, $1,000 plus a year in your insurance. That's a big savings. And so we want to do things like that and pull the levers we can. And obviously, we can't control what happens in reinsurance. If we get through this season, that'll help. But we had 3 hurricanes last year, and we still saw a downward pressure on rates. And so we have a lot of arrows up, but we're not done yet.
One of the things that really bothers me with insurance companies is I sell real estate, and you have a 30-year roof, but the insurance company doesn't care. It's like, that roof's over 10 years old, you got to replace it. And they almost force people to replace perfectly good roofs, and they do it with hot water heaters too. How do we defend ourselves against unnecessary purchases as the purchaser of these insurance companies against those? I mean, the roof is completely fine.
Right.
And then they're saying, nope, you got to replace it because that's what the policy says. My roof might be, and it is going to be completely different than hers and completely different than yours. But because the policy says you got to replace it, you're spending $20,000 just to keep your insurance. So your mortgage company doesn't hit you with all the fines. So how do we defend the consumer against those type of situations? Hot water heaters and roofs are the ones that really stand out.
Yep. And not sure about hot water heaters, but on roofs, that's specifically one of the things we did to hold insurers. We did an insurer accountability bill alongside the bill that got rid of the gamesmanship and litigation.
Okay.
And so we said, hey, 15 years. So if you're on a roof, in other words, you can't come in and say on a 20-year roof at age 10, because it just doubled the cost per year of your investment. You can't do that. And so if you're getting that, I would call the Office of Insurance Regulation and check with them and see, is this legal? Because it may not be. And I would shop it. If you're getting a hassle by your insurer, I honestly, there's so many new insurers. We have over a dozen new insurers that have come into the state since these reforms. Say, I'm going to go shop it around. They may have a change of heart. Most insurers, and the one I mentioned previously, they do it based on functionality, and they can go put a drone above your roof and look at your roof and tell whether it's got another 5 years left. The problem is sometimes when an inspector goes out, they're trying to play it safe for themselves, and they'll say, less than 5 years left in the roof or whatever, and that forces you into, when you're selling a property, into replacing the roof before you sell it to your buyer. But check with Office of Insurance Regulation, because we specifically changed the law on roofs to make sure that you couldn't do that, where you halfway through a good roof, you tell people that they have to replace their roof.
Okay. No, all right. We have to pay a little bit more bills, and then we're going to come back to you and get really into the governor's race side of it. So, when we go to music report, let's shorten that down.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Gas Buddy Gas Report. Tell us in the comments what gas prices are looking like around you. We've got Sunoco on North Ponce at $2.85. Shell at 146 King Street at $2.86. Owens on South Ponce de Leon Boulevard at $2.91. Shell on North Ponce is $2.93. Gate on US 1 North is $3.16. Sunoco on South Ponce is $3.16. Shell at 216 Ponce de Leon Boulevard is $3.16. Gate on Mizell Road is $3.19. Circle K on 207 is $3.19, and so is the Circle K on US 1 North. All right, that Gas Buddy Gas Report brought to you by Chris Lucero Bail Bonds. Trouble with the law? Call the name St. Augustine has trusted for years. Chris Lucero Bail Bonds, available 24/7. Their experienced and compassionate team works fast to get you or your loved one out of jail and back home. From paperwork to release, they make the process simple, discreet, and stress-free. No judgment, just help when you need it most. When the time matters, remember the name and the number. Chris Lucero Bail Bonds at 904-822-BAIL. That's 904-822-2245. Got live music today. We will start at 5. Carpetbaggers at Hurricane Grill and Wings, 5 o'clock. Dewey Vaya is at the Press at 5 o'clock. Ivan Smith is at Tide's Oyster Company and Grill at 5 o'clock. Bad Dog Mama is at Pierre's Pub at 6 o'clock. The Currys is at Pierre's Pub also at 6 o'clock. Zach Haywood is at Salt Life Food Shack at 6 o'clock. Trivia with Troy and Aiden is at Amici's at 7 o'clock tonight. Lyle Lovett and his acoustic group is at Ponte Vedra Concert Hall at 7:30. Let's go check out, who was it? The actress, the ex-husband, Julia Roberts. Julia Roberts' ex-husband.
Her ex-husband. So.
That music report is brought to you by Fidus Roofing. When it comes to protecting your home, trust Fidus Roofing and Construction. Voted best of St. Augustine every year since 2012. As a GAF Master Elite Contractor, Fidus installs the GAF Lifetime Roofing System and expert metal roofs built to withstand Florida's toughest weather. From emergency repairs to floor replacements, plus pavers and gutters, Fidus delivers quality, durability, and energy savings with every job. For Fidus Roofing, call 904-355-ROOF. That's 904-355-7663. Fidus Roofing, where trust is built from the top down. We don't do trends when we have a guest, but we do have a brand new sponsor for the trending segment, and that is Facial Rejuvenation Center. We want to welcome you today. Ready to look as young as you feel? At the Facial Rejuvenation Center in St. Augustine, they specialize in natural, lasting results. Whether you're considering Botox, fillers, advanced skin treatments, or facial surgery, their expert team tailors every experience to your unique beauty goals. The spa also offers a wide range of services, including chemical peels, microneedling, dermaplaning, radio frequency treatments, laser hair removal, and more. Discover renewed confidence in a warm professional setting because you deserve to love the face you see in the mirror. Call 904-810-5434 or visit facialrejuvenationcenter.com to book your consultation today. Thank you guys. Welcome. All right, we've paid the bills. Back to
All right, we have paid the bills, and thank you. And we're back to Paul Renner, former House of Representatives for the state of Florida, our representative here in St. Johns County and Flagler County. Now, you're running for governor. Some names that I'm going to throw at you there that I think are going to be in the mix or have already declared: Byron Donalds. And Jay Collins, I don't think he's actually in the mix yet. And what about Wilton Simpson? Are those the three names that you're hearing? Or who's the competition of where you're at? Because you got in this race early, so you can get your name out there throughout the entire state. It's a big state. Who do you see as the legitimate? This is the person that's going to give me a little bit of a challenge to get this governor's seat.
Yeah, I don't think we'll know for a while. And what you can say about politics is anybody who thinks they know doesn't know. And moreover, whatever it's going to look like, it'll look a lot different than it does today. And so it's a long, long way till August 18th is the primary next year. Of course, Governor DeSantis is term limited, so this is to replace him for the next 4 years. And so I can't speak to that. What I can say is that of all the names you've mentioned and mine as well, I'm confident that our side is going to be better than the other side. So whether that's David Jolly or somebody else, that's where I'm going to keep my focus.
Okay. All right. But when you're in a race like this and you're in it for the long haul, you got in early. Raising money is very, very key to doing this. How do you break up your team? Florida's a big state and it's a lot of different groups. And right now, Florida is a red state. It's used to be a purple state. It's solidly a red state now. So a Democrat coming in, I think, is going to be a real big challenge against whoever comes out of the Republican side. But the Panhandle is completely different than Orlando, and South Florida is completely different than Jacksonville. And how do you put your team together to cover all the different dynamics of Florida?
Well, yeah, it's a challenge because you're right. We're like 4 or 5 states in one, and every area has different issues that are unique. The Keys, for example, very, very unique issues compared to where we sit today. And so we've got a good team of folks that have got experience, and a lot of it's me just making the travel around to the 67 counties and being places. And so we've got a busy schedule today here in Northeast Florida. Tomorrow we're in Highlands County. And the next day we'll be in another county. So just travel and making sure you're getting out there and seeing people is the main thing.
Okay. Social media plays such a big part of what's going on in the world. And it really came into play kind of in the Obama era. And he utilized that to the best of his ability. Where do you fit in that as far as your expertise level on the social media side? Because you've been, a military, a lawyer, and those things. But you got to kind of train yourself to be in the social media side to stay competitive. How are you making that adjustment as the world's adjusting around you?
Yeah, I would distinguish 2 things. One is that I'm not going to be a candidate or a governor that is driven by what is being said on social media, because I think it's gotten kind of out of hand in many cases. You can spend 5 minutes on there and you just start shaking your head at what some people say. However, it's important. And so a lot of people get their information. Some get only all their information through social media. So we're on all the channels, X and Facebook and Instagram and, you name it. We got a website, voterenner.com, so to your question about how do we organize and get support, we've got a veterans group we're going to put together. And so if you're a veteran listening and want to support our campaign, you can go on to voterenner.com and type in your name. And so we're gathering up volunteers across the state. And a lot of that comes through social media, and we'll post something and say, come see us here, or watch listen to the radio show we're doing this morning. We may do some clips from that, or a TV show, and that's how we get the message out as well. It's a really effective way, and then friends and supporters can kind of share that out they like what they see. We did an intro video, which I can share with you guys if you guys put that stuff out. It's about 3 minutes long, about my background in the military and as a prosecutor, kind of where I came from, what I believe in, some of the things we did to help solve the state's problems, which again, I think is what you want to solve tomorrow's problems.
All right, you mentioned veterans there, and what you, as a veteran yourself, and what you were able to do for us here in St. Johns County. If people don't realize that you were the force behind Veterans Village, we luckily you allocated the money. We were able to find a hotel and turn it into a housing for homeless veterans. And I know we've been contacted by several different communities about, hey, how'd you make this happen? And our statement is, without the Veterans Association from the state of Florida, it doesn't happen. And so I just want to say thank you, because I think you've started a trend. We kind of figured it out on our own because we were looking at different apartments and it didn't work, and we're like, okay, this hotel's for sale here. Let's see if we can make that work. And we turned it into it. And I think there's one now in Lake City, and there's one going in, I think in the Lakeland, that have contacted us, and I'm sure there's others that is happening. But I mean, with your work with the veterans, how does that relationship continue? And what do veterans need to keep an eye out for in the state, and how can they help you with your mission on this venture?
Well, as I said, we're putting together a Veterans for Renner coalition, and part of that will be to help with the campaign and drive voters out to the polls, but a large part of it will be roundtables. We're working on a roundtable here in St. Augustine, which I'll let you know once we have that date and location finalized, to talk about these issues, like what is of concern to veterans. And, it's not enough to give a guy or a lady a DD-214 and pat them on the back and say, thanks for your service. We can do better than that. And so a lot of folks, for reasons that may relate to wartime experience, may relate to just life experience when they come back, find themselves homeless. And so I applaud you guys for putting it up, for coming to talk to us about it. And we were privileged to partner with you. And I've been there, as you know, and it's a beautiful thing. It really is a beautiful thing to see guys that would be just literally on their own under a bridge somewhere that have a home. But other things we have done and will do, Florida is, I think, the most veterans-friendly state in the country. We have a booklet, actually, of benefits that veterans get, whether it's educational or health care. Disabled veterans have no pay. We talked about property tax, don't pay property taxes if they reach a certain disability level. These kinds of things. We need to do more. One of the things I did as speaker also was it's ongoing at University of South Florida, is a study on hyperbaric oxygen treatment as a way to treat PTSD and traumatic brain injury. And if this works, and I believe they can't say as scientists until they're done. It's a multi-year study, but I believe it will be successful. And if it does, it actually heals the brain as opposed to doping people up through the VA. And so this will be the first study in the nation where the VA is going to have to say, we accept this, and give people a lifeline of a cure for what they're struggling with, not just dope them up for the rest of their lives. That's not compassion. That's not the way we want to treat our veterans. And so I'm excited about things like that. There's another study that I just did because I was traveling around talking to a guy who's a Republican leader, who's also a veteran, that they're doing in Central Florida, where they're covering the cost of this test, which can give you an early cancer detection. I just did it because, again, I was like them in Operation Desert Storm. They were burning all these oil fields. I'm out on a Navy ship, and you take your undershirt and kind of breathe through it, and it looks like the bottom of a cigarette butt. It's all black. And so I was breathing all that stuff. We didn't have any masks. I was breathing that for 6 months, I guess. And then a burn pit in Afghanistan 20 years later, didn't live right next to one, but I was close enough. I was driving by it every day on my way to where I was doing things in Bagram in Afghanistan. And so that exposure has caused a lot of guys and ladies to have cancer. And getting that early detection at stage 1 may mean we save your life at a low cost. Waiting until stage 4 means we spend a whole lot of money and maybe not save your life. So, I mean, it only makes common sense. And the test is, $700, $750. And so we want to do things like that for our veterans that have got that exposure, and shame on the VA and the feds for not doing that already. But we'll step up, whether that's, on the immigration thing, putting these detention facilities in, Florida has always led. We've always led as a state. We're not going to wait for the federal government or for somebody else to do it. And then our community, the best thing of all is, as conservatives, we think most things don't get done by government. They get done by the population. And again, you guys get the credit in my mind for that. Veteran Center was your idea. You found the location. You did all the hard work. We just provided a little bit of money to make it happen. But so government can help in those ways, but it's really people with a good heart that fix these problems with good ideas, and they put them forward. And the government can put a little money in there, but a lot of it can be raised privately and do the right thing by our veterans.
All right. Did I miss any questions that were on the...
In the audience, we had a question about Florida healthcare. You had mentioned health insurance in Florida. Do you have any thoughts on the healthcare system or health insurance in Florida?
Yeah, so I have good news and bad news. The good news is Florida's done a lot to try to, maintain quality, improve access, and bring down costs. And one of the ways we can bring down costs is through transparency, price transparency. So I did a lot of that when I was in the legislature, especially where it's not emergency. So you're going to go get a hip replacement, knee replacement. That price can vary very broadly, tens of thousands of dollars, depending on where you park your car. Or an MRI is a simple way to think about it. We probably all have had an MRI once or twice in our life if we had something. And that price can vary widely. Same MRI, same machine, same technology. And so there's this price discrepancy. And if you have price transparency, we did a shared savings program where if you go to a place that's the same quality and you save some money, you put some money in your pocket or you get some savings off your healthcare policy. Yeah. That's a good way, a consumer-friendly, free market-friendly way to introduce that shared savings. Like everything else, we shop for cars and everything else. Healthcare, we go where we're told. We pay what we're told. Yeah. We get that statement in the mail that doesn't make any sense about your explanation of benefits. You pay this, you're insured. It's so confusing. Yeah. And so the good news is Florida has done some things in that direction to help. The bad news is a lot of the levers you can pull to help on insurance is at the federal level, because with Obamacare, they took away a lot of the insurance control and put it at the federal level. Yeah. We still have some we can do on Medicaid and things like that. And the bad news is that there are increases coming for a lot of people, in the big, beautiful bill, and whether you agree or disagree, but a lot of the subsidies that were there are going to get reset to where they were pre-COVID. So a lot of people that are on the exchange plans, a lot of people are going to see a huge price jump unless they do something to intervene and change it. And so, unfortunately, we did what we could do on homeowners and auto. I don't see good news ahead on healthcare. And the other thing Obamacare has done is, because it has these essential health benefits and says, I've got to have OBGYN services, and so does Troy, that we're all paying more than we should have to. If we could customize and say, hey, I want a catastrophic policy. I'm a young and healthy guy. I want to do this. If I get cancer or something, obviously I want insurance, but I don't want it for like everything. I want a kind of a cafeteria plan. That could help a lot of people. Obamacare does not allow us to do that. And so since Obamacare came in, you've seen increasing deductibles, increasing copays, and increasing premiums. Like nothing's gone down. There's less coverage for more money. And so I think government has played too much of a role in healthcare. If you look at dentistry or like you go take your pet to a veterinarian, those are areas where government has less involvement. It's a lot more reasonable. I mean, you go to the dentist, it's not awful. You can have dental insurance, and I do, but it's not awful. I mean, healthcare insurance is awful. And part of it too, I want to be about wellness. And so I applaud a lot of what RFK Jr. is doing to get us in a direction of getting away from highly processed foods, eating foods that are closer to the plant, or closer to the cow or the pig. We don't over process these foods because it's not good for us. And so I, as governor, will absolutely focus on wellness from birth all the way through. I want to make sure people live long lives, but lives of wellness, because you can live a long life and be in not very good shape because of a lifetime of bad eating habits, some of which are not your fault because you don't know what's in our food. And our food system is really not good in a lot of cases. And so I want to focus on that as well. That will help bring down healthcare costs, but more importantly, help you lead a better life, a healthier life where you're not going to the doctor and you don't need that care.
All right, I'm going to switch it around a little bit. You're a Floridian. We're actually all three, all four of us are Floridians, born and raised. Yeah. Saving Florida's wildlife and the development that is really, because we live in paradise.
Yeah.
There's no stopping people coming and stuff like that. I'm a big proponent of preservation to save Florida. because I don't think we're going to be able to stop. And there's property rights of these developers. They have the legal right. They spent that. How do you see, as governor, protecting Florida the way we love Florida?
Well, I'm so glad you asked that question. And it's we talked about favorite artists. That's one of my favorite songs to talk about the environment and conservation. And as speaker, before I was speaker, was involved in the Florida Wildlife Corridor and getting that set up as something we can associate with and strive for. And basically it is to try to go from the Keys to the Georgia line with preserving sections of wild Florida, not just for the wildlife, but it's good for the environment. You know, it means that water, when it falls, doesn't just run out to the ocean across pavement. It can seep into our aquifer, recharge our aquifer, so we have clean water to drink. That's kind of important. But also for our farmers and ranchers, and there's a great partnership between them and us in land conservation and easements. And so they keep the land, they pay the taxes, they keep farming, but they can't develop it into mobile homes or, any homes, high rises, businesses. So it stays in its wilder state. Again, good for the animals, good for the environment, and good to keep agriculture thriving in Florida, which is really, really important. We heard about food security during COVID. I mean, who would imagine that? We have an amazingly robust both on the cattle side, but also on the farming side, in all kinds of crops within the state of Florida, we can feed ourselves, which is a beautiful thing. We want to keep that. And so we put up a record amount of funding for land conservation, biggest in history, Florida history, while I was speaker. And part of that, we split off. The presiding officer in the Senate was down in the Naples area for a parcel she wanted to see done. And on my side, funding almost $500 million for the O2O, which is the Ocala to Osceola area, which runs in that swath from, say, I-10, in Osceola Park down to Ocala, and it runs through. That's part of the key part of the wildlife corridor. So it's the northern and southern sections. And I'm happy to say through groups like the Northeast Florida Land Trust and others, we have set aside some of that land for future generations permanently, not to be developed, but it can still be used for timber production and private hands. So we're still letting them pay the taxes. It's still productive, but it's wild. It's going to stay in forest, or it's going to stay in farming. And so that will do a lot of good things for us, because we want clean water. As I said before, when we go out to go fishing in the intercoastal or in the any of the lakes and water bodies here in Northeast Florida, we have some amazing places. This stretch where I live down in Palm Coast all the way up into St. Augustine is some of the most pristine area that's left in Florida. I want to keep it. And so when it comes to things like developing guana, if you remember that guana, that is a I'm not going to use profanity on the air, but that is a heck no with an exclamation mark for me.
The beauty of our show, you can't say hell no.
Yeah, that is, maybe my kids are listening, but I will never, ever let that happen. So you need to know that if you're listening. I'm not going to allow for the development of our parks. And if anything, I want to see the expansion of it, but I want to see land set aside. We do have to develop for homes. People are moving in to bring that. But there's proper ways to do that, and there's proper places to do that. In these pristine areas like guana, I'm never going to let that happen. That will be dead on arrival if that ever comes to my desk. And we just had this $83 million purchase out in Destin for 4 acres on the beach for raw land. I mean, it was ridiculous. And they just approved it yesterday. I just heard about it 24 hours ago, and I spoke about it in an article, but I'm not going to let that happen where people are given some kind of sweetheart deal. And that's what it looks like to me. It looks like it stinks to high heaven. With that money, I talked to some of the conservation folks here, $40,000 an acre, that's over 2,000 acres of pristine land we could set aside. And so instead of 4 acres that, what are we doing? And or at $2,000 acres, $40,000 acres. We could, anyway, tens of thousands of acres in the wildlife corridor we could have set aside for that $83 million and not had it off the tax rolls.
Yeah.
And do it in a smart way where private landowners are still going to be able to do something of value on that land, but they're not going to develop it. They're not going to pave it over. It'll still be a place where everything can thrive that we want to thrive.
Yeah, no, and I can tell you that's one of my big things where we're at, because if this trend continues, I also am a dad of a 5-year-old, so we got to really look. I mean, Blake's my 24-year-old. He's the oldest in there, but we got to really protect where we're at. And one of the things that I was able to accomplish when I was at Parks and Rec was Nocatee Preserve, and that's when I realized, okay, this is really the only way I'm going to be able to protect it. and is to put it to where it's completely unattractive for a developer or not cost effective for a developer to use. So hearing that, I really appreciate that component, because a lot of people look at, especially the other side, look at Republicans, oh, they care about the dollar, and it's not true. It's just not true. I mean, what DeSantis did in the Everglades and turned that around and made that healthy was so valuable to our state, and continuing that is super important to me.
Yeah, totally agree.
You have anything else?
You had mentioned home hardening, and I know that is a bit of a soft spot as far as scams. Like we've kind of danced around it, but how do you take advantage of what Florida does offer for home hardening in a safe way where you're not engaging in a scam? Yeah,
you got to have enforcement, because anytime you have any government money involved, somebody's going to try to figure out a way to steal it, basically, and do it in a non-legitimate way where people are not really helped. And you have that, post hurricanes, which is one of the worst things. We did some legislation to really, hammer people that are bad faith contractors. They come in from out of state, maybe they're not even licensed, and then they take a deposit and they leave town. That kind of stuff. We've passed some laws to really hammer those guys. So it's an enforcement issue. You have to have an inspector, and you get an inspection saying these are the things you can do. Here's your menu of options, and it's up to you. You want to spend $2,000, you get a $2,000 match. You can spend up to $10,000 to get a $10,000 match, and we can adjust that. Like right now, your home can't be worth more than $700,000, which here, may be fine. In Miami, you can't find a one bedroom, apartment or whatever that's less than 700,000. So, we have to look at what makes sense around the state, because as we said, every part of the state is different. The coastal areas are obviously probably to be prioritized over parts, higher parts in the central part of the state. We've got to be thoughtful about it because it's state money, but it really works. And where it helps, and so I'd say to people, what does that do for me if I've got a hardened home? What it does is it means when everybody else's homes are hardened, insurance is a big, large law of large numbers. It's a big pool. And when everybody does well, we do well. So when the hurricane comes in and it's, it's $100 million instead of $1 billion, well, that means our policies aren't going to, skyrocket the next year. Mm-hmm. So we want all of our neighbors to harden their homes, because that helps us too. Mm-hmm. And so we're all in this together in this insurance world. Same thing with auto. It's like, we want people to drive well and not have accidents, because that means our rates will go down, they won't go up. And so we've got to do the things we can do on litigation. We got to, hold the insurers accountable. We've got to have these programs that incentivize people to harden their homes in the case of homeowners, or drive more safely in the case. So on transportation, better signals, better things and technologies coming to transportation to help people be safer on the roads. We'll get to a point at some point where we all have this kind of safety systems on these newer cars that keep us, and we've all done it, I'm sure. Or it beeps at, it's like, oh, I didn't see that guy coming, and it saved me from sideswiping somebody, right? And so the problem
is you get spoiled by those.
You get spoiled by it, and then you get into a rental car that doesn't have it.
Into a car that doesn't have the little mirror thing. You're like, oh, well, that's my blind spot.
Is that the real story behind the RV incident?
No, the RV was a mechanical thing, and my ninja skills was very impressive, getting us off the road. So I had an RV breakdown in South Carolina 2 months ago, and we're in the fast lane in Columbia, and it went from 75 to 20 down to 10, and I'm trying to get over 3 lanes in a 34-foot RV. Yeah, it was a little stressful, wasn't it, Blake?
It was. Please don't talk about that. Please don't talk about the carbon monoxide alarm.
Too soon.
Yeah, still too soon for Blake. But, well, I want to say thank you. You're always welcome back in here. It's going to be a long run, so hopefully this won't be our last interview with you, as you're making your quest for governor. But I appreciate everything you've done for us. And it wasn't just Veterans Village. The money you allocated for the beaches and everything for St. Johns County as speaker, as our representative. I just want to say thank you for that, because I don't know if everyone out there understands exactly what it takes to do what you guys are doing over there in Tallahassee. Yeah. So, but we're gonna kind of do some checking of comments and the amazing Stoidum stat of the day.
Our closeout. Thank you so much for being here and for your time.
Yeah.
Troy, how do you want to check the comments today?
On this wacky Wednesday, I will wander my way through the wonderful watchers. I didn't go with
down
whimsical
for you
wisdom.
and everything.
No, sorry, I just now saw that. Sorry, Bobby.
Sorry, I tried, Bobby.
I got locked in on the interview. I really wasn't
Yeah.
in the comments a whole lot today.
I did your homework
You
for you.
have it all.
I did your homework for you. All right, that whimsical, wacky, whatever it was he said is brought to you by BNS Signs. Want your business to get noticed and stay that way? Turn to BNS Signs, proudly family-owned and serving St. Augustine for over 50 years. From bold vinyl lettering to towering pylon signs, they specialize in high-quality custom signage built to last. Their expert team handles everything: design, installation, crane service, repairs, and maintenance with fast, responsive service that keeps your sign looking sharp. Make a lasting impression with BNS Signs. Visit bnssigns.com because when it comes to signs, they do it all. Also brought to you by St. Augustine Handy House. Need a customer prefab portable building that's built to last? Come to St. Augustine Handy House, proudly owned by Troy Usina Enterprises and serving the community since 1988. With over 70 structures in stock, from sheds and barns to carports and offices, you'll find the perfect fit for your needs. Every building includes free delivery, leveling, and anchoring, plus easy financing options. Visit them on State Road 16, open Monday through Saturday, or call 904-823-9092. St. Augustine Handy House, where quality meets convenience and community matters. All right, Troy, give us a comments report.
All right, amazing comments in there. People were very engaged in it. Sorry, Charlie, we didn't get to your question about Senate Bill 180. With just a great commentary and support. Joy, thank you for your gas report. BP's at 315, Speedway's at 319, Wawa's at 317.
Racetrack
and Circle K are at 309. Owens is at 291. I think that one was actually in the read. And Tim had Costco at 270 and Bucky's at 270. I think the international artists that I saw Rolling Stone in there, and of course there's some Beatles fans in there. So appreciate it. And our Stoidum stat of the day, we're a little over on time, is today is the day in 1958 American Express started their charge card. So the very first charge card, they had been around. They did traveler's checks and stuff like that, but their charge card was created in 1958. And also on this day in history, there was a lot of big things on this day in history. Right. It's where groundbreaking in 1971 for Disney World, which is very important to all us Floridians. It was the groundbreaking of Disney World in the Reedy Creek area.
Reedy Creek,
which
we all know the name of now.
That's how he bought all the land, and was able to pull it off. So,
right on.
So both of those happened on this day in history.
All right. That's a 2 for Stoidum Stat for you, brought to you by St. Augie's Pizza in downtown St. Augustine, right at the corner of Iberia and MLK. Get yourself a slice today. Do we have plugs other than trivia?
All right, we got plugs and we got Bollocks tonight. We've been having some great discussions on Bollocks. So if you can get a chance to tune in with Bollocks tonight and at trivia tonight, I'll see you guys. If you want to go, make sure you're getting there. Snowbirds are coming soon. And then you're fighting for a seat. So
right on. Get your table now. Do you have plugs for us, Blake?
No plugs.
All right. Don't forget to like and follow us on Facebook, Instagram, subscribe on YouTube and Rumble. Share the show, guys. Bollocks tonight. Bye, guys.